Okay, today we're adding and subtracting rational expressions. This is from your homework page 586, number 3 through 27 odd. I'm going to start with number 17, and I know that's skipping a lot of problems, but the first couple problems that are on your homework, you're adding and subtracting fractions with already common denominators. So I really wanted to show you a couple that we're adding or subtracting fractions with uncommon denominators. So for number 17, I have 8 over 3x squared minus 5 over 4x. So I really need to take a look at what would my common denominator be. So for each denominator, I'm going to look at the individual and unique factors. So 3 and 4 is what I'm going to start with my numbers. And I think about the least common multiple between 3 and 4. And the least common multiple between 3 and 4 happens to be 12. So 12 is for sure a part of my common denominator. And then I take a look at my x, and I have an x factor here, which is x squared, and an x factor here. I always choose the larger of the two exponents, so x squared is going to be the least common multiple between x and x squared. So 12x squared is my common denominator, which means then I have to convert this fraction to be an equivalent fraction. So I ask myself, well, what do I multiply 3x squared by to get 12x squared? And I would multiply that by 4, so that means I need to multiply top and bottom by 4. 4 times 8 is 32, and that becomes my top. For over here, what do I multiply 4x by to get 12x squared? Well, I would multiply that by 3x in order to get the x squared. 5x times 3x is 15x. And now I can go ahead and do my subtraction. Well, 32 and negative 15x are not common or not like terms, so I really can't combine them. So I can only write this as 32 minus 15x over 12x squared. There's nothing else I can do to simplify, so this is my final answer. Okay, number 19, we have 12 over x squared plus 5x minus 24 plus 3 over x plus minus 3. Again, I need to find common denominators, and in order to do that, I need to make sure that I have things fully factored. So I need to factor x squared plus 5x minus 24. This is a quadratic trinomial, and I want to find out, are there two numbers that multiply to negative 24 and add to 5? So I'm going to think about the things that multiply to negative 24. I could start with 12 and 2. And 12 and 2, I can't get that to add to a positive 5. So I might start with 3 and 8. Well, 3 and 8, I can work with that, because if I do a negative 3 but a positive 8, that's going to give me a negative 24 when I multiply and a positive 5 when I add. So I have x minus 3 times x plus 8. On this side, I have x minus 3 as my denominator. It's fully factored, so I don't need to factor it anymore. Now I look at what would my common denominator be. So in this denominator, I have x minus 3, and I also have that n as a factor as the other denominator. So that's for sure going to be part of my common denominator, x minus 3. And I have to include all unique factors. So x plus 8 is also a unique factor of this denominator, so I need to include that in my common denominator. There are no other factors in either denominator, so my common denominator, therefore, is x minus 3 times x plus 8. Now that I've found my common denominator, I need to go ahead and convert my fractions. Well, this fraction already has the common denominator of x minus 3 times x plus 8, so I don't need to multiply anything top and bottom. I leave it the same. However, here I have x minus 3 as my denominator. To get x plus 3 times x, or x minus 3 times x plus 8, I would need to multiply by x plus 8 on top and bottom. When I distribute in this 3 to the x plus 8, I'll get 3x plus 24. Now that I have converted both my fractions so that they're equivalent, I can go ahead and combine like terms. 12 plus 24 is going to give me 36. And then I have x minus 3 times x plus 8. So 3x plus 36 will be my numerator. X minus 3 times x plus 8 is my denominator. There's really nothing else I could simplify. I could factor out a 3 here, but that wouldn't be able to cancel with anything, so I'm not going to worry about factoring out anything, since I can't simplify it. So my final answer is 3x plus 36 over x minus 3 times x plus 8. Any questions, please see me or Mr. Dan.